Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video where I'll be talking to you about what it's like to be the first in my family to go to university. I think that's quite an achievement in my opinion, because my parents, they came from an island called Sri Lanka, and because of the civil war there, they unfortunately had to migrate from Sri Lanka over to the UK, and that meant that a lot of their education was disrupted. And my mum, for example, really wanted to go to university but wasn't able to attend just because of the civil war that was going on. And I think my dad stopped his education when he was 16. Being brought up in the UK and having immigrant parents has really opened my eyes to education and the importance of it. Also, on top of that, I've almost overcome the anxieties around going to university and being the very first person to do so in my family. So I think the biggest thing that I had to overcome was actually the whole idea of moving out. I decided to go to university when I was 18, and that was all the way back in 2017. I was very scared about what it was going to be like to move to another city. Because I'm studying a medical degree at the moment, I had to go through an intense interview process, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get into a lot of the London universities because they quite frankly rejected me. And I found out that I was going to be going to Leicester University, which is a city that's in the Midlands. And I think one thing that my parents were worried about was the fact that I was moving quite far away. They were particularly worried about me going to a new city, me being independent. But I think it's one of those things where you have to let your child fly out of the nest and explore and learn to fend for themselves. And yes, I'm very used to my mum and my dad making very eccentric curries like dal and beetroot and spinach, and I had to kind of figure out how to do that kind of stuff for myself. And I can definitely tell you, I really didn't know how to cook when I was in my first year. I think the best thing that I'd ever cooked was pasta, and I can definitely assure you right now, I do know how to cook, and I've definitely made a better effort to ensure that I can feed myself a healthy and balanced meal. One of the things that I experienced was a little bit of homesickness. I think for the first 2 weeks when I moved out, I was excited to meet new people, make new friends, get involved with societies and really get stuck into my course. And after week 2 or 3, I found that I was getting quite homesick and I really wanted to go back home as soon as possible. So I think after week 3, I kind of decided, right, I want to go home, gonna have some home time, get some home food, and that was quite refreshing. People give you different pieces of advice, especially when you're going to university outside of your hometown. But my best advice is go home when you feel that it is right to go home. If you feel like you want to go home the first week, the first weekend after being at university, then do it, because your happiness and your safety and how much you feel at peace within yourself is the most important thing. So I think play it by ear and see how it goes. And one thing that really helped me to kind of overcome homesickness is putting loads of pictures up around my room. I remember I used this website called Free Prints, which basically allows you to print out 45 pictures for free, and all you have to do is pay for postage and delivery. And that was really great because I was able to decorate my room, and whenever I did feel homesick, I was reminded that my family were very close to me. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think that learning how to survive at university is a skill that even now, after 5 years of being at uni, I'm still trying to figure it out now. First of all, I had to do my own laundry. When you're at uni, you need to find the motivation to even do your laundry. Like, I remember it piled up so much that I ended up packing it in a suitcase and then going home and getting it done at home. And I think that's such a big thing about being an adult, is being independent and doing things to fend for yourself. But I think my best tip with things like that is to not let it pile up. So set one day of the week where you can dedicate to cleaning and kind of resetting for the week. What I do is on a Saturday or a Sunday, I kind of empty out my room bins, empty out the toilet bins, and put my washing in Saturday morning. And then by lunchtime, it's ready to be hung up. And then by Sunday evening, it's ready to be folded away. So it's almost like a 2-day process for me, because in my university house at the moment, there isn't a dryer, so we have to let it air dry. I think once you get into this routine, you'll settle in and you'll know what works for you as well. And one thing I want to say is don't be too hard on yourself. Like, there'll be times when you're feeling lazy and you don't want to cook and you don't want to do your laundry and you don't want to clean your room, and that's fine. Another thing which I think is a huge challenge that you have to overcome when moving into university is being able to live with new people. And I think this is quite scary because you're going to be living with big personalities, quite timid personalities. You don't know who's going to walk through that door, but you have to make sure that you're civil, or you can even become friends with them too. I remember some things that I did to make sure that I was friendly with them is to knock on people's doors, ask them how they're doing. Sometimes we'd organise things to do as a flat with certain flatmates, just to make sure that you're not constantly isolated in your room and you do kind of see people throughout the day as well. And another thing that we did is that we organised a cleaning rota to ensure that everyone was doing their chores that they needed to do, and just to ensure that all the tasks that we did were distributed evenly. But one thing to note is that if you find that you don't really get on with your flatmates, it's not the end of the world. Try not to cause too much drama, kind of be civil, and I know that you'll be able to find people within your course or through societies that you do get on with. And I found that if I was kind of having a hard time within my own flat, I'd go and visit my friends in other flats and other accommodations, and that would make my evening a little bit brighter. The final thing that I wanted to touch upon is about budgeting. I think that this can be a big challenge to overcome because each individual will have a different budget and different ways of spending as well. And it's about what you prioritize and where you spend your money. Definitely in the first few weeks of being at uni, or even the first term, you'll find that you can be a little bit broke. I definitely found that myself, where I'd earn a little bit of money over the summer through tutoring, and I think all of that was blown on attending loads of social events, which I'm not mad about because it helped me make more friends, but at the time it felt like I was really skint. There are definitely ways to overcome this. The budget depends on how much you want to spend, basically. So at the moment, what I decided to do is I have a set amount for how much I want to spend in a week. That could be £50, £60. I try and stick to that each week. So depending on what bank you're using, you can basically make a separate bank account to kind of have a set of money for the week or for the month, and then you know how much you're spending over the course of those 4 weeks. One of the things that I do, and I still do now, is tutor young children in English and help with their essay writing. And that's something that I've done throughout university because I found that it's very flexible. Other people that I've spoken to have done more university jobs. So for example, working at the Starbucks at university, or being an ambassador at the Students' Union for university days. And there's loads of opportunities out there in which you can gain a source of income which is flexible for your schedule. If this is something that you're genuinely worried about, I don't want this to stop you from going to university, because I know that being the first in university, the funds for where that could be coming from might not be available to you, and that can be quite stressful. My top recommendation is to get in contact with the university and ask about available services, bursaries that you can apply for so that you can make the most out of your university experience. I hope this video has given you a small taster about what it's like to be the first person in your family to go to university. I know that it can be a little bit of a struggle and a huge hurdle that you need to overcome. However, as you get used to being at university, explaining to your family about how it is and what you've been up to, I think communicating that across your family will really help to ensure that you have the best experience that you can. As always, if you've got any questions or any concerns about going to university, please make sure that you comment it down below, and we'll definitely make sure to reply to any of the queries that you have.